Oh Lord, hear the cry of a mother tonight. Her hands still tremble where she held her life. 5 long years and the shadows stay, but she whispers Summer's name as she kneels to pray. And a father stands with a breaking heart, trying to hold the pieces that fell apart. He calls for his daughter in the quiet air, saying, God, please find her, please meet her there. Bring our baby home, Lord, guide her through the dark. Hold her in your mercy, keep her in your heart. For every tear we've cried, for every night alone, we lift this prayer to heaven. Bring our baby home. Brothers miss her laughter, the way she'd run. The house feels colder without their little one. They look to the sky where the moon hangs low, hoping she sees it too wherever she may go. When the world throws stones and the voices roar, you've seen their pain, Lord, they can't take much more. Wrap them in your arms when the nights get long. Give them strength to stand, give them hope to hold on. Bring our baby home, Lord, guide her through the dark. Hold her in your mercy.
Oh, happy day. I've been sitting here talking and reading, and I've been muted this whole entire time. I am so sorry, y'all. So, can I share this to my screen? Should be able to.
Tomorrow marks 3 years since 20-year-old Layla Santinello disappeared from Kingsport, but her family's search has never stopped. Good evening, I'm Casey Getz.
And I'm Kristen Kwan. Tonight, I spoke with Layla's mother as she marks this painful anniversary and also learned new details from the lead investigator about what police believe happened in the hours after Layla was last seen. It's been 3 years since Layla Santinello was last seen in Kingsport, but for her mother, Jennifer, time hasn't eased the pain or silenced the questions.
I want my baby back. I want to wrap my arms around her. I will never stop looking.
It was originally reported that Layla was last seen in June of 2023 after leaving the AmeriCorps Hotel near Eaststone Drive. Surveillance video captured her walking barefoot through the area before she vanished.
I was expecting her to eventually call and tell me what was going on.
Now, police are revealing new details.
And that's, to your knowledge, the last time anybody has seen her.
No.
So there has been sightings after that?
There has. It took about 6 months, but we got in December of that year, we got a fairly significant break.
Corporal William Clare says through thousands of interviews, subpoenas, and search warrants, they believe a small group of people spent the day with Layla after she left the AmeriCorps and know where she is.
We're not positive how she got to her location, but she did meet up with a group of people at another location in the city of Kingsport and spent the evening with them, and then eventually she died, based on the evidence I've collected at this point.
And Corporal Clare has a strong message for those who were there.
It's incredibly difficult and frustrating every day not to be able to close this case for Layla's daughter and her parents. And of course, I can't imagine what they're going through. But I do know that there is a small group of people who are selfish and self-centered who can come forward and can provide where she's at. And I know who they are. They know who they are, but they refuse to cooperate.
As the investigation continues, Jennifer says she'll not give up searching, raising awareness, and holding on to hope.
Because the last thing that she said to me was, "I love you so much more." And I will hold on to that for the rest of my life if I have to.
If you have any information about Layla's disappearance, you're asked to call the Kingsport Police Department. Tomorrow, there will be a candlelight vigil for Layla at Borden Park in Kingsport at 8:30 p.m.
So that is the update for Layla Santinello. On to the Nancy Guthrie drama saga. Where should I not start? Huh.
did you receive related to this case?
Well, we received the first ransom note, and then we received around a dozen emails from a man who claims to know who the kidnappers are and at least back then knew where Nancy Guthrie was.
Okay, but never have you received a communication from someone who said, like, I'm the man, I'm the one who did it.
No, we received a ransom note initially saying they had Nancy Guthrie.
Oh.
She was safe but scared. They wanted $4 million. That ballooned to $6 million by not meeting the deadline. And they said if they didn't meet the second deadline, they would kill her.
Okay, now this new missive, what's the gist of it?
So this man has been sending us emails over the last 4 months. He stopped a couple of months ago because he wanted a Bitcoin in return for telling the FBI who the kidnappers were. He said he knew them and where Nancy Guthrie was. So we hadn't heard from him for a while. When the story came out this week that the second ransom note said that Nancy Guthrie had died, and then it created a lot of media attention. Today, he sent us another note, and he says a variety of things. He says that, number one, that he is not, as he puts it, the idiot who recently called in a tip about her burial site in Mexico. Now, what's interesting about that is there was a report about somebody saying we know where she's buried in Mexico. But he goes on to say only 2 are directly involved, and I doubt they would be the ones calling to snitch on themselves. So he is saying that there are 2 kidnappers, and he had told us in previous emails that there were multiple kidnappers. There was a main person and at least one other. Now he's saying there are 2. Now, I wanted to say, Michael, real quickly, I am not vouching for this guy because, look, he well could be a fraudster. But I know the FBI, because we're in touch with them, that they have been trying to figure out who this guy is. And they've been spending a lot of time on it. And they think that they're making headway. They told me that this week. So I'm trying to think, on the one hand, if they think this guy is just a jerk who's trying to scam money, why are they spending all this time? On the other hand, if he's legit, why didn't they pay the 1 Bitcoin he's asking, which is around $60,000, to lead them to the kidnappers and possibly Nancy Guthrie? So I just want to add one other thing, because this is where it gets interesting. He says, and he has not said this to us before, he says that he will hand them basically on a silver platter evidence. He specifically says that he has, quote, a short video of the main guy with Nancy the day that was probably her last. And then he goes on to say that he has the phone with that video in a safe location. The phone is turned off. In return for the Bitcoin, he will lead them to the phone, give them the password that will then let them look at the video as well as the addresses of the 2 people he says are the kidnappers.
Harvey, it doesn't pass the smell test here in Philly. It sounds to me like extortion, because if I'm this guy and I have this information, I'm going to give it to Harvey Levin and let you be the go-between, because...
Hello and welcome in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there's a reward out there.
There's a reward out there, but he seems more focused, Michael, on the Bitcoin than he does on the reward. He's really not mentioning the reward. He's really focused on this Bitcoin, to a point where he says he is somehow close to these kidnappers, he says, and he's said this all the way along, and that he will look at the Bitcoin address, which he provided here, but he would not actually access the Bitcoin until the kidnappers were caught, because he really fears revenge by them. So, look, I can't tell you this is real, but frankly, I'm just confused by the reaction that authorities have gotten here, which is, if he's a fraudster, just ignore him. But they're spending time trying to figure out who this guy is.
Yeah, that kind of bums me out, because it makes me wonder if they've got nothing else. You anticipated a question that I wanted to ask you, which is, you're treating this as if it's the same individual that you've heard from all along. I take it the IP address, the language, something causes you to believe it's the same individual.
It's the Bitcoin address. So he had been giving us a Bitcoin address on all of the previous emails. In the last one, he said, I am deactivating the Bitcoin address. But each time he sent that Bitcoin address, nobody knows that. We haven't publicized it, so we know it's the same guy. In this letter, he says, I've now created a new Bitcoin address, and he gives it to us, but he also references the old one to authenticate he's the same guy.
Harvey, is there repartee, like back and forth? Are you saying things and drawing him in, or is it a one-way street?
It's a one-way street in terms of emails. We can't get in touch with him. But we have gone on our television shows, on our website, and on social media, and we went out today and said, look, we don't know if you're real or a fraudster, and send us some proof. Give us a screen grab of Nancy Guthrie, and we will forward it on to the FBI. And if you want that Bitcoin, maybe that's what will do it. And by the way, we forwarded the email to all of the emails to the FBI, but he just sent us another one a couple hours ago and said, I'm not going to do that because there's metadata and it will lead them right to me. So he's unwilling to provide what we had asked on social media, but in terms of repartee, he seems to be looking, and if we say something, he tends to respond.
Hey, gang, it's another week of world soccer fever all over the United States right now. Games in Jersey, Philly, San Fran, LA, Boston, Atlanta, and more. Talk about the world's best mingle. The top two teams in each of the 12 groups advancing to the round of 32, which starts on Sunday, June 28, and goes through July 4. The U.S., Brazil, Mexico, and more. Let me tell you this. On my phone, right there, flashing it at you, my ticket to Croatia and Ghana today. It'll be my second World Cup world right on your phone all summer long. Make your downtime fun time. Bet Parks, Play Gun Lake, you got to be 21, and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan, casino.com, playgunlake.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Is the FBI advising TMZ how you should be handling this situation?
Yeah, about a month ago, look, I don't want to seem totally naive and dumb here, but there was something that made me think maybe this guy is real. So I called one of our contacts at the FBI and said, look, what if we do a documentary and we end up paying the Bitcoin address and see where it leads? And obviously we let you know every step of the way. And they said, and I said, we would do nothing unless you say, okay, because we don't want to interfere. And so they kind of ghosted us after that. They said it was interesting, and then they just didn't return our calls. This week, they called me back, and it's been almost a month. And they said, look, we are looking at this guy. We're getting closer, we think, to finding out who it is. And they asked us, no, stand down on this whole documentary idea. So we did.
A final thought. The revelation this week that ransom note number 2, not that you received, but that media outlets received, that suggested that she had passed and was with nature, caused me to go back and rewatch the 26-second Savannah Guthrie video that followed that note being received to see, does this look to me like the daughter of a person that she's just learned is dead? And it did, sadly.
I thought that when it happened, when she first put it out there, because the way she said it was, so we can celebrate Nancy.
Yes.
That feels like celebrating her life. I got to tell you, look, I'm not law enforcement, but, you know, we've been following this from the beginning. It feels to me like these kidnappers obviously they wanted money. And then Nancy Guthrie dies on their watch, and they freak out because all of a sudden, it's not kidnapping anymore, it's murder, because it's felony murder. A kidnapping that ends in a murder that ends in death is murder. And so they freak out and they just go radio silent because nobody has heard from them since that second ransom note, which was just days after she was kidnapped. So why, if they were very clear what they wanted, you know, in the first few days, did they just go off the radar? Because they still could have gotten money if they wanted, or leading them to Nancy Guthrie's body or remains, right? But they haven't done that. So it feels to me like whoever this is just flipped out when she died, and that they just are trying to stay as far away as possible.
Sadly, I think you're right. Harvey Levin, TMZ, thank you so much as always.
Thanks, Michael.
So, just a second, give me a minute, guys. Let me grab. Hey, Paula, long time no see, ma'am.
To everybody who supported my content and subscribed. I'm in the airport right now. I'm actually connecting in between flights, but I wanted to do this episode for you guys because I've been working on it for the last couple of days, and I think that it's relevant in light of everything that has happened this week, specifically when it comes to these ransom notes and the information that we've been able to gather from the notes, specifically the second note, when the person wrote that Nancy was dead, but also buried with nature now. And I've done episodes in the past about the desert, about the conditions in Tucson, in and around Tucson, in Arizona, about how difficult it would be to find somebody out in the desert. Some of this stuff is difficult to talk about because, look, I want to be sensitive to Nancy Guthrie's family, and it's an active investigation. But at the same time, I did want to take a scientific look at what law enforcement is up against when it comes to the desert, when it comes to bodies in the desert, when it comes to what happens to bodies when they are left out in the desert. Also, how difficult it is to dig in the desert. And I don't think that that's something that I realized. I'm from Florida. But in this episode, you're going to hear with the expert who I speak to, it's very difficult to dig in many parts of the desert in Arizona. When you go down several inches, I am told it's almost like digging through concrete in some areas. So the idea of a grave and someone being buried out there could be very, very difficult to actually pull off and do. So is there a chance that Nancy Guthrie was just left somewhere and is not beneath the surface? And you're going to hear the expert that I talked to explain that that is a possibility. Her name is Dr. Pamela Marshall, and that's who this interview is going to be with in this episode. She's a professor at Arizona State University. She has a PhD in cell regulation. And we've heard of body farms before, and I talked about body farms with Maureen, my friend, retired FBI agent, yesterday. You know, FBI has a body farm where essentially people donate their bodies for research, and the FBI studies the way that the bodies decompose. And Dr. Marshall is doing a project that is similar to that, but they actually use pigs. And they put the pigs in human clothing, and it's very specific to Arizona, which is why I was interested. And they are studying how the decomposition happens in the Arizona desert, and if a body is moved multiple times, what sort of bacteria and DNA is left behind, which I think is relevant when we talk about the big picture of the Nancy Guthrie investigation. And this is going to be kind of a scientific episode. If you guys remember, a couple months ago, I did one similar to this with DNA. I was actually with a professor also from ASU, where I wanted to go deep into how DNA testing worked. And this is going to be similar. Some of the stuff is very scientific, and I try to have her explain it. But again, I think it's important because of the bigger conversation we're now having, because of these ransom notes, and because this happened in the middle of the desert. And again, what is law enforcement up against when it comes to the conditions in the desert and a body? So I want to play for you guys my full interview with Dr. Pamela Marshall. Dr. Marshall, thank you for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I was really interested in talking to you just because I've been covering the Nancy Guthrie case really since that whole thing unfolded in Arizona. And you may have seen, you know, we've been reporting about the second ransom note. Thanks to everybody who has supported my content and everybody who's subscribed to my channel. It's Friday. It's been just a very busy week when it comes to the Nancy Guthrie case in terms of information coming out about these ransom notes. And now there is even more that has come out. And this is in relation to another note that TMZ claims that they have received a new note, which I'm going to get to all the details in a second. In this episode, I'm also going to interview really famed FBI profiler James Fitzgerald. He actually helped solve the Unabomber case. And I'm going to have him really zero in on everything that we've learned this week when it comes to the first two ransom notes that we know went to the local TV stations. The ransom notes that I've reported the FBI believes are real. That's the one first that said, "Dear Savannah, we have your mother Nancy," and demanded a ransom. And then also the second note where we've now learned the person said that Nancy Guthrie was dead and was with nature now. Super interested to see what Fitzgerald has to say about all of that. Again, this was his job, like reading into notes like this and trying to figure out who was behind them. So I'm going to have him go through everything, which is going to be really, really interesting, which we know is what the FBI is also doing behind the scenes. First, though, let me get you guys the latest on what TMZ is now reporting about another note that they've received. They say it's the same man who's written to them in the past, who claims to know who the kidnappers are behind the Nancy Guthrie abduction. And he said that he can lead police to these kidnappers, and he's just asking for 1 Bitcoin, which is, the whole thing is strange. But nonetheless, I think we have to consider everything at this point. And this is obviously separate from those first two ransom notes. But this is the latest from TMZ. According to TMZ, they say who wrote Whoever wrote this note said, I am not the idiot who recently called in a tip about her burial site in Mexico. Only 2 are directly involved, and I doubt they would be the ones calling to snitch on themselves. So he's referring to the anonymous tip that went to the group of searchers in Mexico. He says he has video, and this is a new element here. He says he has video of Nancy Guthrie with the main kidnapper on what would probably have been the last day of her life. That's a big claim that he makes. He says this contains my definition of delivering it on a silver platter in terms of what he says he can give to TMZ. He says he has names, addresses, phone numbers of the kidnappers. Says he has that video in a phone. So that's something new. The video in a phone, and the phone is turned off in a secret, secure location, but a location easy to find if you know where to look. He says if he gets a Bitcoin, he will deliver the phone on a silver platter. Gives a Bitcoin address. And Harvey Levin, who's obviously the boss at TMZ, has asked that person to screen grab something to prove that what they're saying is true. Something on the phone to show proof that he's not a fraudster. Harvey Levin says that he has alerted the FBI to all of this. I think a lot of us are skeptical of these TMZ notes. Is this just someone looking for attention? TMZ seems to be taking them seriously. TMZ seems to think it's the same person who sent emails in the past. So perhaps the FBI hopefully will look into this. These notes are obviously separate, again, from the first 2 ransom notes that we've been talking about all week. But I want to get to James Fitzgerald, get his take on this latest TMZ note. And then what I'm really interested in is his take on the first 2 notes. Really appreciate you joining me, as always. Thank you. Thank you very much. Your podcast is awesome, by the way. I always put the link down in the description. And you're the perfect person to talk to because we've had so much come out this week about all of these notes, which I want to get your take on. First, though, this new TMZ reporting, and I'm a little skeptical with this TMZ stuff. It seems separate from the first 2 notes, obviously, that came. But they are now claiming the guy who's been messaging them has sent a new email where he says that he's got the names, addresses, and phone numbers of the kidnappers, that there's a video that he has on a phone that shows Nancy with the main kidnapper, and that he will basically hand all of this over for 1 Bitcoin. What do you make of that?
First of all, and again, Brian, thanks for having me on your podcast. This guy, I don't think he's legit. I'm going to say that up front. I'm not sure any communication, and people are calling them notes, letters, whatever, posts, but I'm just going to call them communications, however they showed up. I don't think any of them are authentic, and that includes this most recent one. So 2 things. Why to TMZ? I mean, from the beginning, but certainly this one, where this guy is now alleging that he has some kind of a hidden phone in a secret place, whatever, and it has pictures of the last day Nancy was alive, and names, addresses, and ages of the 2 kidnappers. Okay, do you think the 2 kidnappers would know who this guy is, who is putting this stuff out there? And if they do, they're going to take him out. If they're really these badass, alleged kidnappers, which again, I don't think they are. So why is he doing this? If everything you just said, and we're hearing from TMZ, et cetera, was true, go right to the source, meaning the sheriff's department or the FBI, and let them work this case. And they wouldn't go public with it, which they shouldn't. And that way this guy is safe. And his buddies or his colleagues, whoever they are, neighbors, and he knows where the body is and where it's buried, whatever, he'd be safe. So like virtually every communication we've heard of so far, we've never seen them. And as you know, along with being a profiler, I'm a forensic linguist. I want to see the actual language. That's what I want to see. Hearing snippets, well, someone said this and someone included that. Okay, what is the actual language being used? But even that aside for now, the content of what we're discussing, it doesn't make sense to me. Why would he risk himself for, and if I've done the math right, I think 1 Bitcoin today is worth like $61,000.
Yeah.
US dollars. That's not a whole lot of money to put your life on the line. So, and this guy may just be looking for a quick buyout. I'm not going to ask him for 10 million. They may not pay that. You know what? 61 grand wouldn't be bad though, tax free, whatever. So I'll just ask for that. And if there even is a phone somewhere in some hole in the ground, it'll be bogus with nothing on it. So, and I'll end it with this. The investigators would be remiss not to follow up on this. No ands, if, or buts, but they shouldn't be taking too much valuable time away from other leads they could be following, whatever they are at this point in time after, what are we talking, 4 months, 4.5 months at this point?
Almost 5, yeah.
So I don't see a whole lot in this. And again, why go to TMZ? Go right to the source if you're serious about it. They never did. And on top of that, and you were probably going to go here next, I've said these 3 words.
Well, y'all, that's all the updates I've got. I just thought I'd come on and throw them out there at you. Thank you for stopping by, for anyone who did stop by. Catch you next time.